Okay. Boy, I gotta get that. That's a really terrible background.
It's as good as mine.
There we go. Fix my hair, button up my shirt. What do I think I'm? A bar? Jeez. So, you guys can hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. Let's upgrade, Brianna, let's upgrade Karen to a panelist if she's going to stay for the executive session.
JW, I sent out a separate link for the executive session.
Never mind, you're right. I'm still confused. And as Terry pointed out, I'm having trouble following directions right now. So we are presently at the beginning of our regular meeting. I'm going to give it a couple of minutes to see who else has trouble with this. But I'll tell you that we will not have James for the regular meeting or EJ. They both had family things come up like very suddenly. And Tracy will not be joining us for the executive session because of other commitments. So it'll be a rather small party for the executive session, but we'll do what we can. So the way the agenda was published, it showed that the meeting would start at 5:30. So I will now call the meeting of the Yelm City Council of July 13th, 2021 to order. And the roll has been taken for this purpose. We will, as soon as I'm done talking, immediately adjourn into an executive session for the purpose of discussing negotiations with our unions. And we will end that no later than 6 p.m., at which time we'll log back into the regular meeting Zoom link, which you all figured out the first time. So with that, we will end this portion of the meeting, and then I'll see you back into the executive session.
Sorry, JW, do we go leave on the screen? Because I did that last time and it messed up.
You want to leave this one, Terry?
That
And go to the
completely.
executive link, and then when we're done with that, you'll have to come back to this link to rejoin this meeting.
And it'll still work. Okay. All right.
All
Thank
right.
you.
See you soon.
You need to mute this. Oh, actually, she got this room muted.
Oh, once we go into the executive session,
Yeah.
we've logged off of the other meeting and they can't hear it.
Okay,
She's gonna
you're gonna
log
log off this one, yes.
You're still on, hold
Still
on.
live now.
We're the wrong video.
You're doing great. Check.
Check.
Not a single person said they could hear me.
Can you hear me, Terry?
Yes, slightly, there is
Checking, no
noise.
one makes a noise. Well, I guess that didn't work.
Jonathan's supposed to be doing here.
He'll be presenting on the Southeast Thurston Fire Authority levy lid lift.
Okay. Hi, Jonathan.
Raise my hand so you know which one it was.
Thank you. That was really helpful. I have like 4 of me logged into this meeting.
Right, so now you've got, did you upgrade Kyle?
I gave you co-host abilities now, so, but I can go do that.
Oh, I will allow Kyle to talk.
Okay, you should be all good.
Yeah, okay. Very good. Well, welcome or welcome back, as the case may be, to the Yelm City Council meeting of July 13th, 2021. We'll call the meeting to order through our usual tradition of saluting the flag. So find a flag near you and join me in a salute, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, as you see on the agenda, the executive session was actually held at 5:30 to 6 o'clock. And that was for the purposes of discussing upcoming negotiations with the Teamsters. And that was just a briefing for council. That moves us to roll call, and I'd have the clerk take the roll, please.
Councilmember Holly Smith. Here. Councilmember James Blair.
Will be absent.
Councilmember EJ Curry.
Will also be absent.
Councilmember Molly Carmody.
Here.
Councilmember Tracy Wood.
Here.
Councilmember Terry Kaminsky.
Here.
Councilmember Joe DePinto.
Here.
And the mayor is also here.
Mayor JW Foster.
Here. I know it's a tough one to remember. Then we'll get to the agenda approval, and I would ask the council to consider a slight amendment to the agenda, please, in that we have our representative from the Civil Service Commission, Joanne Wolf, is over here. She's going to present. It was at new business 7D, and I would ask that we move her up to 7A so that we can get her presentation and then move on to and let her get on with the rest of her evening.
So moved.
Mhm.
Second.
All right. So we have a motion to approve the agenda with that amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Further roll call, just a reminder, in review of our protocol manual, the absence of a council member from a meeting will be considered excused if that council member calls into the executive office prior to 5 o'clock of the night of the meeting. So council members Blair and Curry have both done that, which by, again, our protocol manual makes them an excused meeting, and no further action by council is needed to actually excuse them from the meeting. So we have a quorum, however, and able to attend the business before the council this evening, which is, first off, the special presentation from Kyle McPherson, the Transit Van Pool Program. And I hope that I see Kyle is upgraded to a panelist. Kyle, can you see and hear us?
Hi there. I can see you and I can hear you. At this point, I think I just need some visibility to bring up my presentation.
I've given you the, all panelists are able to share their screen, Kyle, so.
Okay. Let's take a look here.
Oh, I see. I allowed you to talk, but I'm not sure you were promoted. So I just promoted you again. Try sharing again, Kyle.
There we go.
Hey, okay.
Okay, let me go ahead and share my screen here.
All right, I'm seeing your screen and there's your slide deck is up. The
Awesome.
floor is yours, sir.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and minimize the sidebar so I have a little bit more space. Well, thank you so much, Mayor Foster. For those of you, this is my first presentation with your council, and certainly excited to share some details about what's going on over here at Intercity Transit in regards to our van pool program. And so today I'm going to cover real quickly some information about our program, some of the impacts during the pandemic, and then I'll open the floor up to anyone who would like to ask a question during the presentation. So again, my name is Kyle McPherson. I am the van pool outreach coordinator. So my main role here is working with employers, employees, and other community partners to really kind of bridge that gap for those that are seeking transportation and or really honing in on building up a workforce. In particular, we are very interested in looking, at the city of Yelm. We understand that there are several employers there in town, and certainly we have heard from some commuters that are coming from outside the area into Yelm, and so we see this as a viable option for our program, and hopefully today we'll give you a little bit more information on that. So I do want to start with our mission statement, which really is our driving force behind the work that we do. So our mission here at Intercity Transit is to provide and promote transportation choices that support an accessible, sustainable, livable, prosperous community. So what does that mean? In a nutshell, it means that we're here to serve the community. And before my time at Intercity Transit back in 2009, I always loved to promote what we're doing, and we won an award for being one of the mid-size best American public transit system for the entire nation. So I think that as a whole here in Thurston County, we should be really, really proud about the work that we're doing in our community. So to open up the conversation, this is a nice little slide about who we are as a team. So we have five van pool team members, and our main goal is broken down into kind of 3 different areas. So those goals would be, we provide customized commute solutions that really meet the demand of today's workforce. We see a lot of that workforce changing after the pandemic, and so we are actively engaging with employers and looking at different solutions that kind of meet their need. The second, as I mentioned before, is we work directly with employers and employees and community partners. I love working with so many different work groups out there. There's a tremendous amount of need for transportation in our community. And so every employer really has a unique driving point. And so we try to meet with those employers on that one-on-one basis. And then finally, we always like to highlight that we're customer service focused, and in a perfect outcome, we'd like to see everyone who can participate in van pool be a part of our program as well. About 5 years ago, I'm kind of a data junkie, and so I'll throw out a couple stats here. About 5 years ago, there was a survey that was put out to our current van pool customers, and I'm happy to say that we were about 95% given a high achieving, excellent remark for our customer service. So that is definitely a highlight to put out there. So one of the questions that always comes up about van pool, which is obviously separate from our regular buses that we operate, is what really is a van pool? And for those of you that are familiar with the transportation demand management industry, this organization that's called ACT, they are on a national level, the Association for Commuter Transportation. And within that, there's a van pool council that has defined what a van pool is. And so this really gives a nice high-level overview. And so I won't read through it all, but really, as you'll kind of see there, I've highlighted some of the important things in here. Is it's a flexible mode of transportation. It provides really kind of that independence, but also has a specific route and schedule that workers are able to put together. And really the biggest thing there is who drives the van. And that's another question we get quite often. So the vans are not intercity transit employees. They are volunteers within the van group. So that really is actually kind of a unique tool that we offer to our customers as well. And then the other part to this is what do the costs cover? So we provide either a 7 or 12 passenger vehicle. We also cover all the insurance. Our maintenance is done in-house here at Intercity. We cover all the fuel, if there's tolls involved, any sort of parking. And then our program also builds in an emergency ride home. So if there are situations that come up where a worker needs to get home for whatever reason, we reimburse up to 6 visits a year for that as well. As I mentioned before, Vanpool is really beyond transportation. It's really kind of a workforce challenge that we're constantly working through and looking at it from several different angles. Along with those would be these 3 areas. So people, they're struggling with housing. It's really expensive right now with the housing costs. Childcare would be a second one. And I would say that transportation is a big driving point for that as well. If you were to go online and look at any sort of job board out there, you would see that there are multiple employers that are hiring. And one of the big shifts that happened during the pandemic is our traditional customer was, state workers and more of the office line environment. Most of those workers went away. They packed up their bags and went home, and they were instantly connected virtually. And so our customer base really has focused over to the industrial, blue collar worker type, maybe the lower wage workers. And so I did a quick little search online, and you'll see that there are multiple employers kind of in the same industry that are doing some hiring right now here in Thurston County. And particularly, you'll see that some of these positions are looking to give away several $1,000s in bonuses. And so we really see Vanpool as a way to kind of connect that avenue for employers and being able to attract those employees to come work for them. You'll see here, I also kind of picked out a couple in the Yelm community. So you'll see over at, Habitat for Humanity was a place, Aquatic Bath was a place, and then Tractor Supply. Tractor Supply has several positions currently open, and you'll see there that they promote their workforce as being a great place to work. And so in a perfect world, we would absolutely love to partner with some of these organizations and ensure that their employees have transportation to and from their work sites. So transportation as a whole also impacts everyone on a national level. And so there's all these studies out there that happen on a regular basis. I know that for Washington as a whole, especially more up north in the Seattle area, we consistently come in on top 3 of, worst commutes. We're sitting in traffic for almost 200 hours a year. And it's really starting to take a toll on people. And so you'll see here, like the second one, it talked about, the cost of communities affecting home buying. And the one on the bottom here, which absolutely is kind of scary to think, but someone to think that, a young professional living in California is having to live almost 2 hours away to get to work because he doesn't want to pay the expensive rent in San Francisco. So we also like to say as a whole that, Vanpool is more than what meets the eye. And so, typically, most of the community members and the public will engage with us by seeing our vehicles out on I-5 or parked at an employer site. And so So what this really means is that, we are a tremendous agency that provides a lot of different transportation services. The majority of those are bus riders. But I also want to highlight a couple points here is during the pandemic, on a national level, it was frozen. There wasn't a lot of promoting that was going on. There wasn't a lot of growth that was happening on the public transit side, especially with van pools. It's been pretty flat for quite some time, but it's really encouraging to know that at least in our county that we started 20 new van pool groups during the pandemic. And I know that has been a huge success with our program, and we're really excited to continue to grow this year and beyond. So as a whole, we have about 700 riders in our van pool program in Thurston County. And one thing that often comes up is, do the vans have to stay in Thurston County? And they don't. And so they travel to 7 different counties, which is pretty incredible. I just was working with a lady that was coming back to work full time down here in Olympia. Well, she had moved on. She had moved actually pretty far north. And so she starts her commute almost in Linwood. And she's picking up 4 or 5 people in Bellevue and coming down to Olympia. So she's traveling about 170 miles a day. So she was looking at about 40,000 miles that she is going to be traveling at van pool on a yearly basis. So that's pretty incredible. And then finally, our first group. So our van pool group number 1 comes from the ecology department. They're still running. So they've been, really a group for over 30 years. And what's really interesting about that particular group is they, as people transition out or they retire, they move on to other opportunities. They will keep the van and they have others that will fill those seats. So that's a really cool story that we like to tell as well. So impacts of COVID-19. We know that this pandemic really impacted many different areas of our community, and one of those being transportation. As a whole here, I don't know if you can see these numbers, but so pre-COVID, we were running about 195 van pools. And then once COVID hit, it really impacted us. We dropped significantly. We lost 65 groups or so. But as you see there, we're inching back up to that number. We have about 200, a little over 200 van pools in our fleet currently. And so our goal is to always have those vans out in service, better to be used than to be parked. And so we really are hopeful that in this next year, these numbers will continue to rise as more people returning to the office, but also really kind of honing in on those blue collar and essential workers that will continue to be working in person. I also pulled some data you'll see there. And this was, again, pre-pandemic, but also it went all the way back to, I think, 2012 or so. Yelm had 28 van pools. And you'll see there that currently today, there's 9 van pools in Yelm that are coming into Yelm or leaving Yelm. The majority of those are going over to JBLM. So that is also a very popular group of workers. And we consistently get requests that are coming through. If you drive by the Walmart in town, you'll probably see a couple of our vans there during the day. So what are some of those benefits? How does that impact our employers? So I'll kind of highlight a couple of these. And this particular group is actually based in Centralia. They're commuting from Thurston County, and they started a group during the pandemic. And so we really kind of highlight these touch points as things that employers can do to help bring and breathe a really competitive workforce to their work sites. One of those is, and I'll kind of talk about at the bottom, is we're the only agency that we're aware of that actually promotes co-branding. So those employers, this one, for example, Pace Edwards, they're small. They have 50 or 60 employees at that work site. And so for them, they really see it as an opportunity to market their service as well. So they're supporting the van pool program with some of those workers. And then in return, we offer a free co-branding on that vehicle. So it really kind of just makes that vehicle a little bit more personal to their work sites and gives them more opportunities to be out in the community. Quickly, another group that I want to talk about is Gerard Wood Products. This group, as you'll see in the back, they build those fancy wood pallets. And during the pandemic 2020, they were actually looking at a move, and they were based out of Pierce County. And they said, you know, we're thinking about moving our headquarters down to Lacey. How can we do that? We have some workers that that need transportation down there. And so we had quickly formed a plan with their groups there. You'll see they have 2 vans. They actually started with one group, and because they have 2 shifts, they quickly identified that there was a desperate need to get some more vans in there. And so they were our first group to actually participate in the co-branding on those vehicles. And you'll see there that there's a lot of workers that wouldn't be working in Thurston County if it wasn't for transportation. So this is a really big driving point for us as well. On the employee side, what comes up when we think about why should employees join a van pool? Well, the biggest driving point, and we ask every time that someone joins a van pool, is why they join, and the majority of that says they want to save money, especially those essential workers that are struggling. They're having to pay for their housing and childcare costs, and so we really kind of see it as a way to increase their income. So that's a big driving point there. A couple others here would be some of the wear and tear. So the average person, and this comes from AAA. So every year AAA puts out some data on what it costs to operate your vehicle, and there's several different points that go along with that. But they say that if someone's driving 15,000 miles a year, and again, if you're factoring maintenance and fuel and general wear and tear in your car and insurance, it's around $8,000 a year. That's really expensive for someone that has a lower wage position. And so van pool, as it stands now, most employers do offer some sort of monthly subsidy that some employees may not be aware of. If they don't have a subsidy, we really encourage those employers to provide any sort of small benefit that would encourage their employees to participate and hopefully attract more employees long-term to their work sites. So to wrap up a couple more slides here, we see overall that van pool can be a part of the solution. As I mentioned in a couple of slides there's a lot of work sites that are desperately hiring for workers. And from some of the conversations I've had with these employers is they are struggling and they can't find workers to come and work for them. And so we're really hopeful that that van pool can be a part of that conversation and hopefully give those employers more opportunities to bring in some of the more top talent. Another touch point here is that upfront parking. And so there's a group down in Chehalis, actually. They have about 17 vans, which is really incredible. And if you drive by their work site, you'll drive into their plant, you'll see those vans that are parked right in the front. And then those that are driving their own vehicle are parked, I don't know, 3 or 4 blocks as you're walking in. So that's just a small benefit that employers can do, but it really just kind of helps overall market the program as well. So in the end, hopefully, we know that van pooling takes change, and it's a behavioral change that oftentimes people have another mode of transportation that they can use to get to work. And so hopefully over time, that change will happen. Again, when we pull our new riders, we ask them how they were getting to work prior to van pooling, and roughly 70% of those workers say they were driving alone. And so it does take time to make that change, but hopefully as we move forward into 2021 and beyond, we will continue to see more interest from employers moving forward. I left my contact information here for those that want to reach out to me. I would love to have a conversation with you offline, especially those that are in the Yelm area. Would certainly love to chat with you about some opportunities, and particularly if you have employers that may be interested in our van pool program. Feel free to pass on my information, or you can contact me directly, and I will turn it over from here.
Well, see, if that was a great presentation and obviously a wonderful opportunity for our community members to take advantage of. I'd like to know if there's any questions from council for Kyle. I see one from Holly.
So Kyle, this really isn't a question, but I actually rode in a van pool and for about 20 years, inner city up to DuPont. And actually was the driver for about 10 years. Anyway, it's a great program. It really is. So thank you. And I'm glad to see it kicking back up.
No, that's a good point. And we see about 60%. So, 6 out of 10 riders are hearing about it through word of mouth. And that's a huge driving point. And so we every time I get a new rider out, I send out a thank you card with my business card, really just kind of keeping that relationship whole, and hopefully they like the program and will tell their friends and family, and that, that's a big thing, is a lot of people just don't know about van pool or how it works, and so part of that comes with the education piece, and so hopefully we can continue to educate more people in the community and get more employers on board. So
Kyle, I see that this is, there's fares involved by each of the participants. Do those fares completely pay for this program, or is this subsidized by InterCity's budget in other ways?
yeah, that's a good question. So there's kind of a two-part answer to that. So we're currently council member Carmody will probably be aware of this, but we are looking at potentially a fare restructure. Currently, it's based upon number of riders and distance. And so we're looking at a new model that another agency here in Washington has adopted that will essentially make it a flat rate opportunity and easier for us to market. And so it's kind of, everyone would be paying the same fare in that van pool. And so the other part to it, again, what was that second part? I'm sorry.
Pay for itself.
What was that?
Does the program pay for itself, or is it subsidy by the?
Yeah, so my understanding is that roughly 90% our fares do collect on the cost recovery side. And the other portion of that program is subsidized by InterCity Transit. And so there, we would ideally, it's kind of it's a fine line because we want to make it affordable, to everyone that potentially would want to participate. And so that's a really kind of fine line to walk. And I know that, moving forward, that's a conversation that will be held with my boss and so forth. So.
Great. Well, there is a benefit to the community in that you're reducing traffic, reducing mileage on the roads, congestion, pollution, and so forth, and a benefit to the community. So there's a lot to be said for that. Councilmember Carmody has a question.
Yeah, no, well, not a question. I wanted to clarify something. So that years ago, we did vote to make the van pool pay 100% for itself. And because we were looking at a major budget shortfall, we were going to have to start taking buses off the road. We were not being able to replace buses at all. Buses were going to have to get older and older and older. And so we said, van pools has to pay for itself. But now with the sales tax that we've got going on, we've got a little bit of leeway so that we can reduce the fares in van pool, make them, like he was saying, flat rate across the board. Because it used to be this really convoluted equation to figure out how much you were going to pay every month. So you couldn't just say, somebody couldn't just call up to van pool and say, hey, what's my fare going to be? And they could never say it would be $75 a month, or it'll be $100 a month. They would say, well, it depends on how many days you ride, what distance you ride, how many other people are in your van. I mean, there were all these equations and variables running around in there. And we just said, you know what, this is so hard. Let's just make it easy so that we can tell people the price. And so we're really looking at the fee structure. We're figuring out ways around it. But the answer to your question is we're changing whether or not it's 100% self-funding to maybe a little bit less than that, maybe 90% self-funding. So there you go.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Kyle or for Molly? Tracy, Councilmember Wood.
Just clarification, did I hear both of you say that this program is paying at least 90% of its for itself? Is that
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
okay? Another clarification, Kyle, did you say that the drivers are doing it in a volunteer manner?
That is correct, yes. So they do get certified, and they go through a defensive driving course that they need to pass. We're insured through the Washington State Insurance Transit Pool. And so we have some guidelines that we have to meet for insurance purposes. And so they go through that training, and then every 5 years as a driver, they go through a recertification process. And along that way, we have some systems in place that track and monitor driving records and history, so that if someone does receive a ticket, if they're involved in an accident or personal vehicle, it does get reported over to us. And again, if they don't meet a certain threshold based upon a point scale, then those driving privileges may be revoked.
Okay, just seems, I mean, I wish you luck in that area, because I mean, as a business owner myself, I know it's hard to find employees, but volunteer employees, I would imagine it's next to impossible to find it in these days, to this day and age.
Well, to clarification, they are members of the pool.
Yeah, they drive
They're
themselves.
driving themselves to work along with the other members of their pool. So they're volunteering to be one of the drivers. Not all of the members of the van pool will be drivers, but the benefit is to them. They get to drive, which, as you know, that is the most important seat in the van.
Yeah, we have some employers that will, or some van pools that they'll pay extra not to drive. So they'll say, yeah, we'll pay, for their monthly van pool fare if we don't have to drive the van. So that's just kind of a perk that they work out amongst each other.
Service. Kyle, thank you so much for coming all the way out to Yelm.
Yeah.
By Zoom, to join us for a meeting. Appreciate you taking the time. We're going to move along on our agenda now,
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So we're now going to hopefully Jonathan Sprowski, from board member from the Southeast Thurston Fire Authority, is going to talk to us about their levy lid lift that's coming up. So hopefully we've elevated him, and there he is, Jonathan.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. I hope you can hear me okay.
Yes.
On behalf of your Southeast Thurston Fire Authority, I just want to thank you for giving me some time on your busy agenda, and I promise I'll try and be brief. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jonathan Sprowski. I'm one of your elected fire commissioners, and I currently serve as the board chair. As many of you are already aware, our fire authority is putting the renewal of our levy lid lift in front of the voters this August, and I just wanted to take a moment to make myself available to answer any questions or concerns that the council might have. By way of background, your fire authority responds to any fire and EMS calls that occur in the 84 square miles that include the city of Yelm, the city of Rainier, and the surrounding unincorporated areas. Last month, we responded to 390 calls, which through June puts us on pace to see a 5% increase in total call volume. Now, 98% of our fire and emergency services funding comes from the maintenance and operations levy. But unfortunately, based on state law, we're capped at increasing the total amount collected by only 1% each year. Even though property values continue to climb, our call volume continues to increase, and the costs we pay for many of our supplies, such as fuel and equipment, grows at a much higher rate. Now, the current rate has fallen to $1.39 per $1,000 of assessed value. And at this time, we're asking the voters to restore the levy to the full $1.50 per 1,000 assessed value rate. The real reason I'm here tonight is twofold. First, I'm here to answer any questions you might have. We as an authority recognize that you are the leaders of our community. And if there's any confusion or questions, you are more likely to hear them before we are even aware of them. And secondly, I'm here to remind you that we are always a phone call or email away if you do receive a question or a concern from a citizen. So with that, I'd open up to any questions that any of you might have.
Do we have any questions for Jonathan? Terry?
Is this the one that was going to be spread over 5 years or 6 years? Or is that a different one?
Yeah, so it runs for 5 or in this case 6 years, and then we renew it whenever it dips below that $1.50. So right now we will still have another year left on the current levy lid lift, but it's already dropped down to a $1.39, and with values currently the way they are and the current increase in our own consumables, it just makes sense to run it at this time. We were planning on actually initially running a different funding measure last year, but with COVID, we pulled back on that. We didn't feel it was responsible or in the best interest of our citizens. And so we like everyone else, tightened our budgets and our belts and made it through until now.
So that's a one-time increase based on the next assessed values of the properties?
Right. It'll be based on the current assessed values. So it'll be on the rate in 2022 will set the value, the baseline for the next 5 years.
5 years. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Jonathan, with the impacts of the fire service, the call volume especially, how has that been affecting response times to the city of Yelm?
So we've been fortunate. Our response times have still been staying within pretty accurate to where they have been previously. The larger issue that we've had recently is turnaround time at the hospitals. The hospitals have been overwhelmed, and as a result, oftentimes our crews don't have a bed to place a patient in, and so oftentimes our aid units are delayed sitting at the hospitals. Unfortunately, or fortunately, we've actually had put in place the transport program about 4 years ago now, where we had started transporting our own patients. So the aid unit that comes when you need basic life support transport, or that will take you to the hospital now, isn't a private ambulance. It is one of our ambulances most of the time. I'd say we're running about 80% to 90% of the time it's one of ours, which allows our crews to get back in service faster. So the net result has actually lowered our response times, but we're starting to see the strain on the system, definitely. Certain days are always worse than others, as many council members have stopped me over the last week or so and asked, how was the 4th of July for the department? We've seen that there's definitely been an impact when the system gets to capacity.
Very good. I understand the voters pamphlet has just come out, is in most people's mailboxes this past week, or should get it soon. And there's the statement for.
Terry's got it up there.
Terry's got one right there, be a voter. The statement is in there. I see there was no statement against the proposition for the fire district. There's also some contact information in that if people have further questions. Or they could also just call the fire department and get a hold of the chief or one of the board of commissioners, right?
Absolutely. You can always call the main station there at 360-458-2799 and get a hold of any of us or send any of us an email. We're happy to talk with any of you or with any citizens that raise any concerns with any of you. We're happy to meet with them one-on-one.
Very good. Not seeing any other questions, then thank you, Jonathan, for coming over and for the work that you've done for so many years for the fire department in our community. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks,
Right.
Jonathan.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Jonathan.
All right. We have nobody signed up for public comment. So we'll move on to the consent agenda, which has the study session minutes, regular minutes, and the Yelm City Park Community Event approval.
Tracy Wood, I move we approve the consent agenda.
Molly, I second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is that everybody? Any opposed? Okay, good. Then we'll move on to new business as per the agenda amendment that we're going to start with Joanne. So we'll take 7D up to the front. And this is an important modification of the Civil Service Commission rules that Joanne will explain to us.
Good evening. It's nice to be here.
And before you start, I'm sorry, can everybody hear Joanne well enough?
Can you hear me speaking?
Okay, very good. Thank you, Joanne.
Wait, hold on. What page is this on the agenda?
So you're gonna have,
I'm resolution 7D, resolution number 617.
page
Down
25
at the
of
very
the
bottom.
packet. Page 25 of the packet.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Joanne.
The City of Yelm Civil Service Commission adopted the civil service rules on July 12th, 1995. Section 4.2 excludes any employee of the police department to serve as the civil service secretary chief examiner. In reviewing the current rules in preparation of selecting a new civil service secretary, it was determined that this is not in alignment with RCW 41.12.040, as well as the Washington State Civil Service Model Policy. These both allow for an employee of the police department to serve as the civil service secretary chief examiner. The employee, of course, cannot be a commissioned officer represented by the civil service. What we are asking for is a change to take out the line that says it cannot be an employee of the police department.
That's to me.
Supporting information was in your packet. Council, do you have any questions for Joanne or staff? Tracy?
Sounds good. I move we approve resolution number 617, amending the rules and regulations governing the operations of Civil Service Commission.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Smith. Any other questions, discussion?
I just have one really quick question.
Go ahead.
Okay, so it says the employee, of course, can't be a commissioned officer represented by the civil service. What does that mean?
The Civil Service Commission represents all of the sworn police officers.
Okay.
There are, however, persons that work for the police department that are not sworn police officers.
Staff members that answer the phone. Donna, yeah, okay, that's just, I wanted to clarify that. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tracy, your hand's still up? That's just from your motion? Okay. There's a motion and a second to approve resolution 617. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. Then we have changed it and we can make those changes.
I will announce that to our Civil Service Commission, which is meeting tomorrow evening.
Perfect timing. Thank you so
Do
much.
you need to sign my original paperwork?
Yes,
Then I will leave it here with you.
very good. And I'll take care of that and give it to the appropriate people. Thank you, Joanne, for coming in
Thank you.
and for your work on the commission.
I'm almost as old as the paperwork.
Is the Civil Service Commission fully staffed now?
Yes, 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 we have our new person. Well, we will be as soon as we can take care of, now that this problem is taken care of, now that we can take care of getting our new chief examiner.
Perfect.
Yes,
Good to hear. Thank you.
thank you.
And that was necessitated by the departure of Ashley's son, who took a different job with the county. And so now with this change, we'll be able to,
Wait, Ashley's gone now?
Ashley took a job that was 40 minutes closer to her home.
Oh, that's good.
She commuted for 4 years and it was
A long drive.
yeah, incredible. She did a great job for us and we're sad to see her go, but great professional development for her. And now one of the employees over there at the police department can take that job as the secretary and chief examiner with this change in the rule. So
Now we're up to page
So we are now back to A, the appointments to citizen advisory boards and commissions.
Page 14 of the PDF.
And I'm bringing that up myself. So we have Kathy Linnemeyer is here with us tonight to answer any questions that you might have, but just by way of presentation, this has been something we've been hoping to do since I've been mayor. It's been very challenging to attract people to these boards and commissions and get them all squared away and straightened out. And Kathy has done just that. In fact, it's amazing to us all, but Kathy has just hit her 1-year mark with the city. And we've just been so happy to have her with us. And this is one of the big accomplishments. She and her team were able to really streamline the process, get it all in order, put an application together, get it out there, beat the brush, advertise, get a lot of people interested in serving on our boards, commissions, many more than we've ever had before, stagger out their start dates, because one of these is brand new, Police Advisory Committee, stagger out their start and end dates so that this will continue to revolve and evolve. Every year they'll upgrade it, look at it, and if appointments need to be made, they'll bring it to the city, the executive branch attention in October. And you'll see this as an annual upgrade if necessary, update is necessary. Did I cover that well enough, Kathy?
Yeah, you did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. I practiced with you. And so this is, you'll see listed in your packet on page 14, these are all of the folks that applied. Basically, if they applied and they met the qualifications, and there were some that were different, that some had to be in the city limits, some did not. But if they met the qualifications, and they were given a position on one of the boards and commissions that they had applied for. There are a couple of people who are in reserve because by our new standard, we're only allowing 5 people per board unless they call for more in that particular board. But it's just making it a lot easier. And you'll see that the names here, most of them are very familiar to you, such as the Planning Commission. Most of those folks have been with us for quite a while, and they all agreed to extend their work with the Planning Commission. And I'll tell you, all of these folks have been very active in their boards and commissions, and it's a great pride of mine to be able to present them to you for confirmation of appointment to their respective boards. Question by Council Member Carmody.
Does this fill all of our commissions and boards now?
Kathy?
It does not. We're getting really close though. So this will leave a couple of positions on the Tree Advisory and the Historic Commission, and also 1 position on the Parks Committee. So applications continue to trickle in. We didn't get flooded with applications, but we are getting them trickling in. So people are noticing the posts that we're putting out there. There was an article in the Nisqually Valley News. We're hoping to next month come to you with 1 more round of appointments that will fill all of our positions. And we're pretty excited about that. It's been a long haul. We've done a lot of behind the scenes work to get to this point. And so, you know, we're ready to have these all full and have these boards and commissions meeting.
That's really exciting.
Councilmember Wood?
It sounds like everybody who applied that was eligible, we found a spot for with a couple of reserves just in case we run into any problems, which is fantastic. And with that, I move we authorize or I move we confirm Mayor J.W. Foster's appointments to the City of Yelm Advisory Boards and Commissions.
Second.
Any other questions, discussion? All in favor?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Councilmember Dino.
Thank you, Mayor. Kathy, I'm sure you already did your due diligence, but reading through some of those applications, most are from early 2020, and 1 was, I think, from 2019. Have they all been contacted recently just to verify that they are good to go and still willing to serve?
Yes, we've contacted all of these. The Arts Commission applications came in, like you said, they were dated quite a while back because those applications did come in and then COVID hit and everything. So we had the group of people who applied and were ready to go this whole time. You know, but now that we're getting it going. So yeah, everyone's excited. They're ready to go.
Good. Cool. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Very good. Thank you again, Kathy. This is really exciting to see all of these boards filled and people taking the opportunity to help the city with the city's business.
Thank you.
So the next one on our agenda is the approval of the 2021 Lodging Tax Advisory Committee Award recommendations that you were given a heads up on during your study session. This is on page 16 of your packet, and we have Lynn Roy here to talk to us.
Hello again. I hope you're able to hear me. As we chatted about last week, I'm with the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee, and we do have 3 applications that we put forward to you last week, totaling $30,500, and we are asking for your approval of that amount.
Well, I think that since we went over it a couple of times before, and everybody asked the questions that they wanted to ask, I'm ready to move to approve the 2021 Lodging Tax Advisory Committee Award recommendations in the amount of $30,500.
Tracy Wood, second.
As motion and second, any other discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 And we have approved the recommendations for the LTAC. Thank you, Lynn, and thank the other members of the LTAC, please, for that. And were you going to stay for the rest of the meeting? Because if not, I have a question to ask you.
Please ask away. I was going to sneak right back out.
Okay, so I was afraid of that. So today at the Chamber of Commerce meeting, we had a wonderful meeting, Chamber back in session in human form over at the community center. And hate to put you on the spot, test your memory, but could you tell us about the business awards that you presented today?
Absolutely. So we presented today. Let me backtrack. In 2018, we created a way, we really wanted a way to be able to honor and celebrate our chamber members, separate from awards that are given to the entire community, and really focus on our members who, they give back so much to our chamber and to our community. So we created in 2018 a set of 6 chamber business awards. We put together a committee to vet through those. We accepted nominations. And then today we got to celebrate 6 businesses who won their awards. And you are going to ask me who won for each award. And I can pull out the winners. I don't know that I can match them to the awards. Our Faye Fuller Award is for exemplary service over the course of a lifetime. And that was given to former council member Tad Stillwell. The Mount Rainier Award is for new businesses who are in their first 5 years of opening up, who are demonstrating success and longevity. And that was awarded to Between Sisters. Our Legacy Award is for a business who has been open for greater than 20 years, who have shown extensive longevity in their business. And that, I'm sorry.
H&R Block.
And thank you. And that was given to H&R Block, and they have been in business for 34 years. Our Wagon Wheel Commitment to Community Award is given for a business or organization who gives back to the community in huge ways through either innovation or event creation or just community outreach. And that was given to Yelm Prairie Christian Center. The Pride of the Prairie Award is given to a business who does incredible work in improving the beautification of their storefront or their business. And that was given to the Crow Law Office. And I have one more. South Puget Sound Habitat for Humanity, and that was for the Nisqually Award. Did I say Nisqually Award already?
No, you got them all.
And that is for a commitment or dedication to practices that help keep the environment safe and healthy and beautiful. So we had a really lovely time celebrating those businesses today and everyone who attended. And I even got half of them to do the chicken dance, which you can find on our social media later this evening.
Guilty. Thank you I knew you could pull all of those out. Was a wonderful celebration of our business community at the chamber meeting today. So thank you for what you do there as well.
Thank you. And on behalf of our LTAC committee, thank you for this approval.
All right, thank you, Lynn. Which takes us back to our agenda. I want to make sure that we move things around. I want to make sure I get everything.
17 now.
So now we're to Cody Colt is going to talk to us about a change order request for electrical modifications at Cochran Park, which, as Molly pointed out, is on page 17 of your electronic packet. Cody?
Yes, good evening, council, mayor. Before you is a change order request for electrical modifications. Currently, the construction that's taking place at Cochran Park. A little background for you. Council approved a contract with Black Hills Excavating earlier in the year for work at Cochran Park. Always during projects where, especially where you're renovating or pulling up stuff, you find things that you thought would be accurate and maybe they're not. So there's small change orders. Some are positive, you get money back because things don't need to be fixed you thought would, and some are negative where you need to spend more money to fix things that you didn't realize would be broken or didn't think would be broken. In this scenario, we discovered that the 100 amp panel coming in from the street would not be enough to power the restrooms and all of the park features. It was originally believed that a 100 amp panel would be able to power the new restroom features and the current park features, but with some of the upgrades taking place in phase 2, along with the power the bathroom needs, we now realize a 200 amp panel will be needed. So instead of coming back in a year and a half when we do phase 2 and digging up that whole line, we figured we'd get ahead of it and lay the 200 amp panel now and get the restroom up and running and then have available electricity for the rest of the park when we do that. So the change order request before you is for the amount of $49,041. That includes trenching, ripping out, buying a new panel and putting that panel on and putting a new electrical conduit through the area and a new panel on the restroom to house that extra 100 amps. And I'll be happy to answer any questions. Public Services Committee was briefed on this also, so they are aware and they can go, we went a little more in depth during that. But if you have any questions or need anything, I can guide you on that.
Good call, as you will.
Yeah, Holly, Councilmember Holly Smith.
Because I'm, newer to this, I just wanted to ask a question on page, I think it's 18. So the original contract was 366,000. And then now it's up to 402. So I'm assuming there was something else before, is that correct? And then now this is an additional.
Correct. So there were, like I said, there's a couple small change orders where we had a reclaim line we needed to fix. So we a couple thousand here, a couple thousand there.
Okay, I just wanted to verify, make sure I was reading it right. Thank you.
Councilmember DePino.
Thanks. Cody, could you also, I know you hit on it, but could you reiterate that we are saving money and it came under budget prior to this?
Yeah, so council, the original amount budgeted was over 2 years was $750,000 for this project. Black Hills Excavating did come in as the low bid at $366,000. The next highest bid, I don't remember the name of the company, was around $470,000. So we still are under what the next bid, lowest bid would have been. And you also need to realize, I guess it's just for your information that they would still have to make this change order as the next highest bid. So we would have still had to adjust that. So we're still under the original budget for this project.
Councilmember Wood?
Phase 1, right?
In phase 1, correct.
Councilmember Wood?
It sounds like you've done your math and your research as you always do, Mr. Colt. And with that, I move we authorize Mayor Foster to sign a change order authorizing an electrical modification at Cochran Park in the amount of $49,041.
Second.
Seconded and thirded. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, it is approved.
Cody, what's the estimated completion date for
So with this change,
the entire Cochran Park project?
so if you look up, I believe it's on the change order itself, it's now August 16th. I'm trying to verify that.
What?
But there is, so just so you guys know, and I told this to Public Services Committee, there is a chance we can open, and that's purely because of back order on the electrical parts. We can open the park earlier. We have the chance to do that, but the bathroom won't have electricity. It would still flush and everything would still work in there faucet wise, but you wouldn't have lights inside the new bathroom facility. That would be the only downside if you opened it a little early. We'll talk more about that as we get closer, and we'll keep briefing Council and Public Services Committee on that. So
I think that's incredible. That's so fast.
yeah, they are really
They're
quick.
really doing a great job.
Yeah, they're doing pretty quick out there. If you've been out there and you can see them, they're hustling and bustling. So
So all those indentations that are there now that have been dry for years and years, are those going to be actual ponds now?
Rapidly, RIVs.
the RVs, no, the RVs will not be ponds, but they will be during phase 2, dug up and redone as a sand base. And you'll see that where the water can actually infiltrate back into the ground. So they won't have any weeds in them. So they'll be just nice, open, dry basins, the RIVs. You will have a couple places that you probably haven't seen as a pond in many, many years because there's so much overgrowth, you will now see as a pond. So
Oh, okay, cool.
yeah, and if any council member would like a tour, you can go out there and pond 1. I mean, just seeing the emptiness now of where it was, and before you couldn't even tell there was really a pond there. Now you have this nice open pond in an area. So
And some very confused ducks.
and some very confused ducks. Yes.
They're being fed. They're fine. They're being fed.
Good.
Well, you know, they're ducks.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cody.
No problem. Thank you.
Very good. That takes us to the end of our new business. We have no old business. It takes us to updates. City Administrator Graham is not able to join us this evening. I'll ask any management team members who are joining us tonight if they have any updates that Michael asked you to present to council. Kathy, Lori, Stephanie, Cody?
Nothing from me.
Grant? Nothing from Grant? All right, very good. Nice to have him on vacation then. Hey, Tracy? He's probably watching. So hi, Michael.
I'm sure.
We'll go then to updates from council members, and I'll just go in the order that I'm seeing people here tonight. Council member Carmody?
Okay, let me get to my calendar here real quick. So I actually was out of town and I could not make the public services meeting. I apologize, Cody. I just couldn't make it. The intercity transit meeting on the 7th was canceled. So our next one is next week after that. And then tomorrow is the Yelm Homelessness Task Force. We're meeting to review the community resource fair that happened last month and hopefully will again this month. We're just gonna kind of like an after action meeting. And then on the 15th, I have Finance Committee and Law and Justice Committee.
Very good. Council member Smith, what you been up to?
Trying to learn how to unmute. On the 24th, I did go to the Yelm Community Resource Fair. There were a lot of vendors there. There weren't a lot of people there the time I went, but it was good to see that the resources were out there, and hopefully people know that it's there next time they do it. Get more people out there. On the 29th, I attended my first general government committee, but it was just Michael and I. So it ended up really, we just talked about some of the big rock stuff, some about the reorganization. So nothing earth shattering. That's all I got.
Thank you. Councilmember Wood.
Last week for my meetings, unfortunately, I was off the west coast of Alaska and was out of signal service area, so I have no report. But I'll be attending the Transportation Policy Board meeting tomorrow.
Very good. Councilmember DePino.
Thank you, Mayor. Attended the public service meeting. Cody pretty much covered a lot of it, but we also we discussed that change order as well, as he said, but we heard also about appeals from the subdivision, status of a few plats on Mill Road, and then also a setback on the fitness pad, but we don't really have a idea as far as the new ETA. We are hoping later this summer, or by the end of summer. Other than that, also met with the fire commissioners, attended that meeting, or the very tail end of it, actually. I thought it started at 5:30. I'm not on that committee, but I just wanted to hear what they had to say. It was right after 4th of July. And so I did meet with them after the meeting and discussed, besides fireworks, their upcoming levy and the construction bond. And just had good conversation with them as well. Their different perspectives on a possible fireworks ban, stuff like that, which surprisingly, it wasn't all straightforward. It wasn't, it's like anything, there's tons of variables. And one thing after that I'm trying, and I just chatted with Michael, our city administrator, a little bit about it, and as well as our Thurston County Elections Office is doing an advisory vote this year. So there would be there is a deadline of August 3rd to ask for a resolution from the city council and to transmit it to the Thurston County Elections Office for a resolution asking Yelm residents if they want a ban on fireworks inside the city limits, which that would be held in the November general election. It would be $4,500. As the ballot's pretty busy right now, it's cheaper. If we were to wait into the spring, or if doing it during a special election, if we were the only ones on there, it could be $18,000 to $20,000 for the city of Yelm to cough up. But that would also that cost would go down if there was multiple jurisdictions with things on the ballot. So I would recommend doing this next meeting as an advisory vote. This is already budgeted in our current budget. We do budget for since the council passed, I believe a few years ago, that we would start holding some money back to fund these advisory votes, which I think was awesome of the council to approve of and fund for. And I'll create a resolution, and I would most likely model it off after the city of Orting's resolution that asked for that advisory vote. In which case and I think that we're a lot like the city of Orting in a lot of respects. And the residents there did say that they did not want a fireworks ban inside the city limits. And I think, when it comes down to it, we should be reaching out to citizens and residents of Yelm from time to time to ask them their opinions on different things impacting them in their daily lives. And I think this has been a very interesting 4th of July in terms of weather, in terms of a lot of things that just occurred. The busyness of the fire department, the fire authority, the unfortunate burning down of a barn in Yelm. And yeah, so I think the time is right for us to ask the people if they want a ban on fireworks. And this will give us a lot more clarity on the council to make a decision, an informed decision, to give the best to really serve and give the best interest of the people. So I'll be creating that, and I'll be putting it up hopefully for our next meeting. And if passed, we can transmit that to the Thurston County Elections Office, and they could go ahead and put it on the November ballot. Happy to answer questions if anyone has any on that.
So yeah, it's just sort of a tight timeline for you, Councilmember Pino, to work with Kathy Linnemeyer to make sure that you have that in time to make it into the packet for the meeting on the 27th. But we'll look forward to that resolution.
And I realize that, and I apologize for that. But it could potentially save us a lot of money if we ran it on this year's ballot rather than a special election next year, which some of us discussed as a possibility.
Okay, look forward to seeing that resolution. Councilmember Kaminsky.
Yes, one question I had was, did anybody respond to LaDonna regarding her family events for the park?
Yes.
You did? Okay.
Yes.
And the Mermaid Festival is on for this Saturday still?
It certainly is, and she has between the farmers market and the Mermaid Festival, there are going to be some 70 vendors of various kinds, food vendors and mermaid trinket vendors, and the usual farmers market vendors. So City Park is going to be rocking this Saturday, and fortunately, the splash pad will be operating to make sure that the mermaids stay hydrated. and the sprinklers have been turned off so that the vendors will not be hydrated. But we're all looking forward to it and really appreciate LaDonna's work on getting this fun family event in our city park.
Excellent. I did attend the Public Works meeting along with everybody else regarding the change orders. And I also attended today's chamber lunch. And as promised, I have to let everybody know that our mayor does a really mean chicken dance. He was very enthusiastic and he did a great job. That's my report.
Well, thank you. I was not the only one doing the chicken dance. There were 20 of us up there and a real chicken. So
It's great.
Molly?
I just have one quick thing to add. Casey Mock, our new communications person.
Planning. She's in planning.
Planning. Yes, our new assistant planner. She has been emailing us reports from the planning commission and, like things that are happening on their agenda. I just want to say to Casey, that was an excellent report. I loved the way you formatted it. It made it so easy to read. I loved all of the different options that you put out. I got more out of that report than I have in many reports over the past 5 or 6 years. So thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to working with you, and I just want to thank you for that. Thank you.
Oh,
Sorry. Go ahead, Terry.
oh, sorry. Yes, and on that same vein, I forgot to mention, I'm not sure if Joe and Molly were in on this part because I met in person with Casey, but I did want to say that she vocally sent her admiration to Grant Beck and Tammy Merriman as she's working with the documents about their vision and forward thinking in our planning for the city. She was very inspired by that. And I just wanted to acknowledge those two people on behalf of everyone.
We've hit the jackpot several times over the last year with our hiring. So kudos to everybody and just, great luck for the city of Yelm to have these good people working for us. So thank you for that.
Did you hear that, Grant?
Grant should have some sort of heart emoji up on his screen instead of his snack.
Well, except I expected it because it only cost me $5. So I'll make sure to pay up tomorrow for Casey. But I would like to say real quick, and I've said it before, but I am so excited for the city with Landon and Sarah joining Casey. For the first time in a while, I feel good about leaving because I know the city's in good hands, and Cody's going to have a great team on the planning side to keep moving things forward.
Well, you built the foundation, Grant. Good job.
Having a retirement party for Grant.
Okay, if that's it on council reports, I'll give you a brief update on what I've been up to, along with just the regular business of the city. Since we met last on the 23rd, that was the start of the AWC conference. And I just got to say, it was one of the better conferences the AWC's put on, even though it was virtual. I got to attend all of the webinars because you could select them all through the day instead of having to choose one and go into a room and sit there and then wish you were in the other one. So I got to look at some really good presentations on supporting small businesses, American Rescue Plan guidance, had state commerce and federal program coordinators there. So we got the real scoop from them. Economic development trends, there were great networking opportunities where we give the opportunity to talk to everybody from all of these different cities in our state, continuing to build relationships and to promote the Yelm brand so people know about what's going on in Yelm. We also worked with Brianna and reps from Thurston County Health to hold a vaccination clinic at the community center. Wherever you are on that that public crisis right now, the 98597 zip code area, about 45,000 people in that, has unfortunately the lowest vaccination rates in the county and the highest rate of spread of the COVID-19 virus. So working with the county to put in a vaccination clinic at the community center may help with that. We're also using the community center to host with one of our partners, the Thurston Regional Planning Council. They'll be having their first in-person meeting since the COVID restrictions started as part of their annual workshop retreat. So we're excited to bring all of those folks to town. And then we attended the Yelm Area Chamber of Commerce today. Again, their first inside return. And Molly, help me out. How many people do you think we had there today?
It was packed.
50 plus?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was really great to see the business community come back out. And congratulations on your award for beautifying downtown Yelm, as Tracy or Terry will say, is one of the key things we should be doing with that area. And then just a reminder that not only do we have the Mermaid Festival Saturday, but the following Saturday, the 24th, we have the barbecue rally and then the Jazz in the Park event on August 6th and 7th, way ahead of the rest of the county in promoting our community events again, and we hope that they go well. With that, I want to thank the staff for their support tonight and thank our loyal citizens of Yelm who attend all of our meetings, in particular Stephanie and Debbie, who are always here, and hello, Josh, as well. So with that.
Move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, see you next time, folks.